All right, let's get right into it. We're going to break down one of the most insane and important weeks in the history of tech. We're talking about the 5 days that saw the face of AI, Sam Altman, get fired, get hired by his biggest backer, and then get reinstated at OpenAI in a drama that nobody saw coming.
It all kicked off with this sentence, a total bombshell that dropped on a Friday afternoon and just lit the tech world on fire. I mean, think about it. The board of the most important AI company on the planet had just canned its superstar CEO. And the reason? This incredibly vague line about him not being consistently candid. What does that even mean?
So to figure out how this all went down, you first have to understand the man at the center of the hurricane and, just as important, the uniquely strange company he helped create.
You know, this quote from his mentor, Paul Graham, really nails the two sides of Sam Altman. He was seen as this absolute force of nature, right? Someone who could just bend reality to his will, but supposedly for a good cause. And that reputation is exactly what allowed him to build such intense loyalty and raise billions upon billions of dollars.
I mean, look at his career. It's been one perfectly timed move after another. He drops out of Stanford to start a company. Then he takes over Y Combinator, the most powerful startup machine in the world. Then he co-founds OpenAI. He wasn't just catching waves, he was making them, and it all led up to ChatGPT, the product that put generative AI on the map for everyone.
But here's the twist, and it's a really important piece of the puzzle. This whole OpenAI crisis, it apparently wasn't a one-off. There are reports that a similar pattern of what sources called deceptive and chaotic behavior got him pushed out of his first company, Looped, and also from his leadership role at Y Combinator. So there seems to be this recurring theme, a clash between his ambition and, playing by the rules.
And that tension, it was basically baked right into OpenAI's DNA from day one. Its founding mission wasn't to build some cool app. No, it was this massive, almost religious quest to build AGI, a godlike intelligence, and make sure it helps humanity instead of, destroying it. The whole point was safety and ethics.
So to make this happen, they cooked up this really bizarre structure. You've got the nonprofit on one side, which is controlled by a board whose only job is to protect that mission for humanity. And on the other side, you've got this capped profit company designed to vacuum up billions from Microsoft and run like a startup on fire. And here's the crazy part. The nonprofit board could fire the for-profit CEO. It was a ticking time bomb just waiting to explode.
Well, in November of 2023, that bomb went off. And the fight wasn't just about personalities or office politics. This was a deep, philosophical civil war that was raging inside the walls of OpenAI. Altman actually had a great analogy for this whole challenge. He said it's like building an airplane. You can't just slap the safety features on at the end. You have to build them into the system from the very beginning. But the question that was tearing the company apart was, just how fast should that plane be flying? And were the safety checks even keeping up with the speed? So what on earth was the board thinking? Well, from what we can piece together from reports, it wasn't just one thing. You had the official reason, that lack of candor, but under the surface there were these huge disagreements about the pace of development, whispers about a super powerful new AI called Q-Star, and even some really serious allegations about manipulative and abusive behavior. When you boil it all down, here's what you get. It was an ideological showdown. You had a board full of researchers and strategists whose job was to protect humanity from this technology. And then you had a fearsomely effective CEO, backed by Microsoft's billions, whose job was to build and sell that technology as fast as humanly possible. Something had to give.
And what happened next was just 5 days of pure, unadulterated corporate chaos. It all played out live on social media for the entire world to see, and it would decide the entire future of the company.
Seriously, the speed of this crisis was just mind-bending. Friday, Altman gets fired. His right-hand man, Greg Brockman, quits on the spot. Over the weekend, there are these frantic talks to bring him back, but they fall apart, and the board names a new CEO. Monday morning, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella pulls off this genius move and hires Altman to lead a whole new AI lab. And that starts an employee revolt. By Tuesday, the board had no cards left to play. They gave in. And by Wednesday, Sam Altman was CEO again. Just wow.
This letter was the real turning point. It was just a brutal, direct shot at the board. The employees weren't just sad, they were openly calling out the board's competence, their judgment, everything. They basically said, look, Sam Altman is OpenAI. Without him, we're gone. And they were not bluffing.
Get this, 745 out of 770 employees signed that letter. That is over 95% of the entire company, all threatening to walk out the door and go join Sam at Microsoft. The board wasn't just up against their CEO anymore. They were up against their whole workforce. It was over. Checkmate.
So when all the dust settled, Sam Altman was back in charge. But the company he returned to, it was fundamentally different. A completely new reality had taken hold.
And you can see the power shift crystal clear just by looking at the new board. The old board, it was full of academics and idealists focused on the mission. The new board, it's a who's who of corporate America and Washington, with guys like the former CEO of Salesforce and the former U.S. Treasury Secretary. The focus clearly swung from debating philosophy to ensuring corporate stability.
And that right there is the biggest takeaway from this whole wild ride. That original, weird, noble structure that was designed to put humanity's safety above all else, it went head-to-head with the raw power of money, talent, and market pressure. And it shattered. The market won.
So we're left with this massive, hanging question. OpenAI was created to be the safeguard, right? The responsible adults in the room for AGI. But now, with a much more corporate-style board and a CEO who is more powerful than ever, has that original mission to benefit all of humanity been pushed aside for good? Is it now just a flat-out race to the bottom line? That's the billion-dollar question that will define the future of AI.